Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show, everyone. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news. We have a ton of different stories, really great things, everything from IBM and their technological breakthrough. They've actually done something very, very impressive, and I can't wait to talk about it. We got that. We have a new study seeing if there's any correlation between mental health and technology, something that we've kept up on the show on a fairly regular basis, and I'm always looking for really the latest research, so this is going to be good. Also, new Video Game Hall of Fame inductees. What are they? Well, hey, stick around and you will find out. So before we get started, everyone, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows, the podcast, reviews, articles, videos, links to social media, all that and more right there at computeramerica.com. Also, be sure to follow us on twitch.tv/computeramerica for our live video stream. And yeah, there you go. And of course, stay tuned on social media for upcoming contests, giveaways, things like that. Now, with all that being said, everyone, welcome once again into the program. Let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. Here we go. Okay, so I think that for our first story, we're going to go ahead and, hey, just lead with the IBM. The super nerdy, but also at the same time very, very impressive part of the show, where this coming to us from Anand Tech, and Dr. Ian Cutress is writing about this. Just shared with everyone today that every decade is the decade that tests the limits of Moore's Law, and this decade is no different. With the arrival of extreme ultraviolet technology, the intricacies of multi-patterning technologies developed on previous technology nodes can now be applied with the finer resolution of EUV provides. So extreme ultraviolet technology, being able to work with extremely small measurements. And what is that measurement? All that jargon, what does that really mean? Well, today IBM announced that it has created the world's first 2 nanometer node chip. Now, sometimes when you're buying processors or especially like CPUs, you'll come across 14 nanometer for Intel. AMD for the past year or two has been famously working with 7 nanometer. Many of the chips produced by TSMC is operating on 7 nanometer as well. And why nanometer matters is because the more transistors you can fit onto these processing units, the more logic gates, the less electricity, the more dense these things get. It all culminates into faster, more energy efficient, and just really all you have to know is smaller is actually better in these kinds of situations. So they mentioned that nothing about transistor dimensions resembles a traditional expectation. In the past, the dimensions used to be equivalent to the metric for 2D feature size on the chip, such as 90, 65, 40. However, with the advent of 3D transistor design, the process node name is now an interpretation of an equivalent to 2D transistor design. Because again, these things are designed in 3D, they are layered upon each other, and that gives you even more density. Because, Moore's Law, as you recall, is the ability for technology every 18 months to be twice as fast, than the previous 18 months. And yeah, it's that was how they kind of got around it this time, was that they were starting to layer these things on top of one another so that at least the density was better. Now, they said that today's announcement states that IBM's 2nm development will improve performance by 45% at the same power, or 75% energy at the same performance compared to 7nm processors. IBM is keen to point out that the first research institution to demonstrate 7nm in 2015 and 5nm in 2017, the latter of which upgraded from FinFETs to nanosheet technology to allow for greater customization, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they have a nice little chart here that you can see, everything from 22nm, 22, 16, 10, 7, 5, 3, 2, because the first one to reach 3nm was actually TSMC. And they were able to get an estimated, we don't have exact numbers, but an estimated 292 transistor density, which, pretty darn good. 292 is very impressive. 2nm, which is again half the size, you're looking at 333. And by the way, this chart really highlights to me that, for the past couple of years, we've really been bagging on Intel for not being able to, really improve their performance and do what they're doing. But at the same, size that we're working with, like if you compare 10nm to 10nm, Intel is twice as efficient. Or maybe efficient isn't the best way to do it, is twice as dense as their rivals. Their 7nm, they are more than twice as dense as their rivals. Now, admittedly, Intel hasn't really been working with anything smaller than 7, and they definitely haven't even cracked mass production of 7. But I feel like when they do, assuming that other companies haven't already moved on to 5 or 3 or, let's face it, 2 at this point, Intel, their technology is still very, very much top-notch. They do some amazing research over there. But I digress. They mentioned that different foundries have different official names with a variety of densities. It's worth noting that these density numbers are often listed as peak densities for transistor libraries where die area is the peak concern rather than the frequency scaling. Often the fastest parts of a processor are half as dense as the numbers due to power and thermal concerns, because obviously you don't want to pack them completely together. You can see right here, what they're talking about when they stack these things instead of side by side. And again, if you put them if you put them together too densely, the heat will bleed over and actually ruin any kind of efficiency that you would have. So we're actually butting up onto we are butting up onto like physics at this point. You just really can't get that much smaller, because really 1nm is, you're getting into as big as atoms get. Anything further, you have to keep stacking, you have to find other ways to improve density and performance, but shrinking is really getting, out of hand, which, the article again did mention that where this is equivalent to a 2nm chip, this is itself not a 2nm chip. Again, due to some of the fabrication ways or fabrication processes that they're able to do. They even have a really nice close-up of the wafer and what these things look like. And again, each one of these is then cut into CPUs and processors and GPUs, things like that. So that's why you always see the big round disk, and that's then cut up into multiple processors. And remember, each one of those disks, this disk probably costs, tens of millions of dollars, because it is a research item, and it's probably the first one produced successfully. But these things are super expensive. Now, they said that the chip was designed and made at IBM's Albany Research Facility, which is a 100,000 square foot clean room. And the purpose of this facility is to build on IBM's expansive patent and licensing portfolio. And there you go. It's very, very cool that they're able to do this. And I think that I know for a fact that it's a world first. Everyone always questions, when is Moore's Law ending? When are we going to finally break that pattern that technology gets exponentially better? And so far, thanks to a lot of tricks and, kind of better manufacturing ways, hey, it's sticking around. It's still around for now. And I've even heard some people make cases that it's actually 12 months now and not 18 months. It's only accelerating, and that's really what technology is all about. It gets better and better as it builds upon itself. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about tons of different stories. We could really take this anywhere. How about this one? This one is LiveLeak. If you've ever heard the name, you've probably seen some pretty disturbing things on this website. It's it was a kind of like a almost like a shady corner of the internet where videos that you could not find on YouTube or other sites, were generally hosted on LiveLeak. And while I don't recall it, I know nothing about the financials, the user base, the amount of people that actually watch videos on there, but hey, I assume that as far as video hosting sites go, it was still, doing its thing, still serving up ads, still making a profit. Well, just come to find out that today they have announced that they are closed. And let's find out why. So LiveLeak shuts down after 15 years online. And again, the history of this thing is not, a completely clean history, but here we go. So it was British, didn't know that, by the way. It was known for footage of war, politics, and many other world events that were censored on other video websites, and they abruptly shut down after 15 years online. They said that it was founded on the 31st of October, 2006, in part by the team behind Ogrish. LiveLeak was thrust into the spotlight in 2007 after the unauthorized filming and execution of Saddam Hussein were posted on the site. So you can see how the site kind of got its infamy was, kind of banned videos. A year later, LiveLeak was again in the spotlight when they had a different video by a Dutch politician. LiveLeak was known for its non-biased in its approach to violent content, enshrining freedom of speech within the site's rules, regardless of how certain content could offend. Because, again, these videos 100% were taken down from YouTube, and then they were put up on LiveLeak. So when you try to navigate to the website now, you get a link to Item Fix. And I have no idea what Item Fix is, but if you click on the link, you can find out why it is that way now. So they mentioned, Dear LiveLeakers, I'm sure you're wondering what's going on right now, so it's only right and proper to give you a full explanation. 15 years ago, we felt the project we were working on had peaked and it was time to move on. LiveLeak was born. Although it's an overused analogy, the last 15 years have been an insane roller coaster. And again, this is all a quote from the founder of the service. Highs, lows, and some rather worrying bits where it felt like we were upside down. The thing is, it's never been less than exhilarating, challenging, and something we were fully committed to. Nothing lasts forever, and as we did all those years ago, we felt LiveLeak had achieved all it could, and it was time for us to try something new and exciting. They mentioned that the world has changed a lot over these last few years, the internet alongside it, and we as people. He's sitting there writing this with a mixture of sorrow because LiveLeak has been not just a website, but a way of life for as many people as it has. He mentions that he hopes that some of you will enjoy Item Fix and find it useful and entertaining. It's something completely different, completely fresh, and something we feel energized about tackling. And I know many of you were upset, possibly angry about our decision, and I do hope that you understand the reasons that we appreciate it. yeah, he said he wraps up with thanks that everyone, that everyone who participated helped make it possible for them to do what they're doing. And it sounds like the founder and the leader of the team did not want to deal with a fledgling video service that it just becomes harder and harder to make revenue. The cost of hosting that many videos and that much traffic, I'm sure, were enormous. And LiveLeak being the kind of site that it was, hosting content that was pretty objectionable in a lot of cases and taken down from most other places, especially places like Amazon, Apple, YouTube, Google, by extension, places that also kind of happen to run the ad market. If you're hosting videos that don't comply with their terms of service, odds are you cannot sell ads using the same company. So I'm sure that the type of site that it was and what they were doing and the cost of doing something like that just didn't really add up. They probably could not make enough money to keep this thing going, and they decided to turn around and, I feel like anyone out there would probably do the same. You have a very valuable address where LiveLeak was a kind of a touchstone for a lot of people, and of course for the young internet, that they just redirected it to their next adventure, and they're going to try to use the traffic to boost their next project while taking down their current and failing project. So there you go. LiveLeak randomly shuts down. There you go. It's really, LiveLeak was a scary, strange, and really kind of refreshing take on online videos because, again, while the videos could be horrific in so many ways, it was a person's choice to click on something. And when you saw that LiveLeak, you thought to yourself, when you saw that the LiveLeak link, you thought to yourself, I don't know what I'm getting into, but it's gonna be something. So yeah, there you go. It's another one bites the dust. Okay, how about this one? It would not be a good show without a little bit of mention of China and how, well, things are kind of going a little wrong. The world awaits. This is according to Ars Technica, Mr. John Timmer, saying that the world waits to see where a Chinese booster will come down. And yeah, this thing happens to be a 20-ton booster. And they're mentioning that some of the parts are probably going to make it to Earth. They're going to reach the ground, not just burn up in space like so many other rocket parts. Now, in late April, China successfully launched a major component of its planned space station, and since then, the booster that put the component into orbit has been circulating in an unstable orbit, and various tracking organizations are indicating that it's likely to come back in a completely uncontrolled manner. That can be unfortunate, because if it's going somewhere that you don't like, uncontrolled is very problematic. Now, with that being said, it's big enough piece of hardware that some parts are likely going to survive and they will reach the ground. And while odds are that it will happen over the ocean, because let's face it, the Earth is 77% ocean or something like that. There's like a 1 in 5 chance it hits anywhere on Earth, or I should say anywhere with ground. And then even beyond that, the chances of it falling on your head are probably minuscule, but hey, let's see where it goes. Now, as Ars Technica's Eric Berger described last year, it was an unusual design meant for heavy lifts to orbit. The rocket doesn't have an upper stage. Instead, its main stage travels all the way to orbit with its payload. Once there, one option is to leave it in a stable orbit, where it would add to the increasing clutter, and the alternative is to deorbit the stage. So there you go. Story of my life, things in an unstable orbit. Absolutely. So yeah, I say that most countries have settled on a controlled deorbit, which is meant to keep or at least maintain control over these things until you can kind of direct it, push it into the ocean somewhere, push it into some kind of trajectory that would make it burn up in orbit. It's not something that you want to lose control over, but many other countries don't just leave their stuff up there, and looks like China's no different. Odds are it will land somewhere, and as Ford said in the chat room, probably Australia. Watch out, wallabies. Now, China has apparently not chosen that path. Following the launch, the rocket re-entered the atmosphere while in an orbit that took it directly over New York City. There you go. Let's see. So, material from that booster ended up causing damage on the far side of the Atlantic on the Ivory Coast. Who knew? Although fortunately nobody was injured. According to experts, the Long March booster was the largest object to make an uncontrolled reentry in nearly 30 years. And obviously the size makes a difference, since that means many parts, it's not just a chunk here, a chunk there that might take out a car or a building or, make a little crater somewhere. No, this is a 20-ton piece of equipment, and you want to make sure you know where it's going. But unfortunately, the main booster has been tumbling uncontrolled in an unstable orbit, and the EU's space tracking program indicates that it will re-enter on May 8th or 9th. The booster's orbit will only take roughly 90 minutes, so predicting where the debris might land is impossible given that uncertainty. So the orbit only takes 90 minutes. That's a fast-moving piece of space debris. It's pretty scary. Predictions regarding its reentry will undoubtedly improve given additional time, but because of the tumbling, its interactions with the thin atmosphere, and many other things, it's knowing for certain it's not going to be possible. Again, most likely somewhere in the ocean. Second most likely, probably somewhere in Australia. Third most likely, duck and cover. I don't know. When it happens, I'm sure they'll let everyone know. I'm curious where it will land, but hopefully they thought this out a little bit more than just, get it out of here. And there you go. So with that being said, let's go ahead and by the way, that's something that I really kind of glossed over there. For those who don't know, China is building their own space station. I was about to say their own international space station, but they're building their own space station that will house researchers and stuff like that. China is really trying to claim dominance in space right now with a lot of investing, a lot of satellites, Mars rovers, lunar rovers, a mission to the moon. China's really pushing their space efforts. So there you go. The final frontier. Okay, there's that story. And let's go ahead and switch things up a little bit to something that we all knew, and something that, net neutrality's come up on the show every now and again. When, the last time we talked about it was when the FCC was having their open commentary on net neutrality. And the website was flooded with entries. Now, unfortunately, the previous administration and Ajit Pai and all that good stuff, they looked at a lot of the kind of copy-paste forms that I'm sure a lot of you did. Not to brag, but I, kind of wrote my own comments in there. But a lot of people went to social media. They found a link saying, leave your comment, save the internet, blah, 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 whatever. And they simply put in their name, put in their address, and hit copy and paste. And, essentially the whole thing looked like an army of bots. Even if it was organically, 20 million people commenting, the comments were all identical. And that could be an issue because it's not like people, and that's really the point of the FCC open comment period, is that people who are confused or educated on the topic get to leave their 2 cents. This push that people saw, if we get enough people to leave a comment, even if it's the same comment, we would drive change. We would drive that, net neutrality should remain. And it kind of had the opposite effect. It gave Ajit Pai and company the ability to look at all these comments and go, it's bots, it's being spammed, these comments mean nothing, and we're going to ignore all of the comments. Now, that was the problem kind of on the keep net neutrality side. On the against net neutrality side, there were other people, and it confused a lot of people in the media. It confused a lot of people on the ground because the people who were coming out against net neutrality, it was really just like the ISPs. It was really hard to find people who were adamantly opposed. And of course, we can go to Nathan Evans if we need to do that ourselves. But for a lot of people out there, they weren't really against it. The people who would be, I guess, kind of hurt, or the people who would benefit from there not being net neutrality were the ISPs. And, well, now we have an article like this saying that the FCC's net neutrality rollback overwhelmed by bogus industry comments. That's what the New York Attorney General's office has found. The Attorney General's multi-year investigation found that the fake comments accounted for the vast majority of comments received in response to the order, nearly 18 million out of a total of 22 million. Now, out of those 18 million, 8.5 million were submitted through a process called co-registration, where they saw outside companies promising gift cards and sweepstake entries in order to attract consumers to join the campaign. They said that they would then use the information to file a form in response to the order, even as the people behind the comments had no idea their names were being used. So essentially, read the fine print, and it sounds like they were saying, enter the sweepstakes. You can win, a $20 prepaid card. You're going to be good to go. And yeah, turns out, well, they just kind of hijacked your name. And hey, maybe you won something, maybe you didn't. Who knows? Now, according to the report, many of the companies filed fake consumer responses as well. More than 500,000 fake letters to Congress were also fabricated. Millions upon millions of comments. The Attorney General's office found that the largest groups funding this influence campaign were the three largest telecom companies in the United States, together with an industry trade group. All told, the parties represented more than 65 million subscribers and a combined market value of $500 billion. Social media manipulation, and obviously this is a form of social media. If they're asking for everyday people to provide a comment, social media manipulation happens every single day. You definitely need to be careful, be suspicious, that whole spiel. But yeah, obviously, if a company is willing to spend tens of millions of dollars on lobbying Congress, yeah, they're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars generating millions of fake comments. That's definitely going to happen. There you go. So they said that the Attorney General's office found that we already went over that. The public record should be a place for honest dialogue, but today's report demonstrates that the FCC's net neutrality repeal was flooded with fraud. Now, the three main companies found to have falsely influenced the rollback, Fluent, React2 Media, and Opt Intelligence, entered into settlements with the Attorney General's office, requiring that companies pay over $4 million in total. Don't get me wrong, $4 million probably for as much as they did, and I think that they probably earned less than the fine. $4 million is a lot of money, but it does not take a lot of money to to run influence campaigns like these, because either they're just straight up fake and those are very cheap, or they're again using real people, but again that is also very cheap. So $4 million doesn't sound like a lot, but it's probably more money than they made together. But it's still not that harsh of a punishment. So there you go. And yes, and as Ford said, $4 million for the people who paid them. That's nothing. That's really it. This was like a small blip on these ISPs' radars. None of it really comes close to the amount of money that they're willing to spend to protect their $500 billion industry. Really look at it as an investment into your future income. Now, with that being said, let's see. So the Attorney General's office also found 9.3 million fake comments were sent to the FCC in support of net neutrality using false identities. Most of these comments were submitted by a single person, a 19-year-old college student, using automated software. There you go. So shame on him. He should not do that. This was a forum for honest dialogue, and that one 19-year-old college student should probably, face some kind of jail time. But I actually find it, pretty funny that they used 3 different, companies to combat this, from the ISP side, and the other side got just as many comments from, one college student. Now, with that being said, concerns were raised about the automated commenting during the comment period, with a number of media outlets reporting on comments filed either by dead people or people who had no recollection of filing a comment. I hate it when dead people leave comments. It's awful. It's awful. Now, the New York Attorney's Office began investigating in November 2017, and there you go. If you had actually like to read through the whole report, you can see it here. But again, summarized, millions upon millions were fake, for and against, but the ones that were fake, purporting for net neutrality, they were done by a singular college student, whereas the other ones, the ones against net neutrality, were provided by different companies that were working undoubtedly with ISPs to, there you go. Net neutrality is going to keep coming up. There's new rules being looked at, and how net neutrality could really be reinstated with the new administration. So I bet it's going to come back up, and I won't be just, kind of hitting a repeat on the last time we did net neutrality, because there are key provisions that will undoubtedly be different, because the internet of today is not the internet of 2017. It has evolved very, very much. So there you go. Internet connected Ouija board. Absolutely. But at the same time, actually, that whole idea of an internet connected Ouija board is actually pretty accurate, considering that, hey, digital things will continue on forever, or mostly forever. And yeah, there was that one story, and this is a complete aside, and then we'll move on to the next topic, but there was that one university that had an entry-level course. It was like intro chemistry, or some level 100 course, and this one professor did it better than anyone else. All they did was save his video lectures that he had done and played them for the next year. And essentially, students were taking college classes from a dead professor. I can imagine that's going to happen time and time again. It's kind of like, looking at old reruns of the Crocodile Hunter, or, listening to old Stephen Hawking lectures. I mean, it's, the things are being immortalized, and that's not exactly the worst thing. But obviously, stealing identities of the deceased is absolutely abhorrent. So there you go. Okay, that little aside, let's go ahead and continue on here and see. Let's see. So we did that one. How about Video Game Hall of Fame? If you had to think back to what games deserve to be in the Video Game Hall of Fame, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure that the Video Game Hall of Fame is not the most prestigious organization, but it's a way to immortalize games that have changed culture and changed the way that we lived. Much like the Toy Hall of Fame, introducing things like, the Little Red Wagon, and, the Cup and Ball, the Etch-a-Sketch, things like that. Well, I can't say Mr. Potato Head anymore. Potato Head, things like that. What about the Video Game Hall of Fame? What would they choose to induct in 2021? And honestly, looking at the picture here, I gotta say, they chose correctly, because all of these are very notable and very, very impactful. So here we go. Well, 4 inductees into the Video Game Hall of Fame, and it looks like that's after narrowing it down from a list of 12 finalists. The Strong National Museum of Play has inducted 4 new titles. And in order of release, we have 1982 Microsoft Flight Simulator. Truly groundbreaking. And, obviously when it comes to simulation, it was at the time something no one had ever seen before and really pushed what the idea of, what technology could do. I mean, back then, oh my goodness, 1982, you barely had graphical user interfaces, let alone a way to explore the entire world. That was something far and beyond. So that was the first inductee. The second one, 1985's. What came out in 1985? Well, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? So not where in the US, but no, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Even I played that one. It's it's really kind of cool because it was a game that changed. It wasn't just a set variety of 3 different options and follow down the route. No, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? And it really took people a long time to actually find out, and the replayability of it was again really groundbreaking for video games. Now, with that being said, the next one was 1998's StarCraft. Now that one I would say definitely deserves it. It really defined the real-time strategy genre. And you could just look at something like South Korea. There's a joke that about South Koreans that if you want to date a girl there, you first have to beat her father in StarCraft. Like, it's a way of life. It is as much a sport as football is here in America. StarCraft really did something unique with, not just in South Korea, but again, all over the world by defining the entire genre and starting up Blizzard. And Blizzard is, of course, a household name at this point. And then the last one was 2001's. I've never played it, but I definitely recognize its impact, and 2001's Animal Crossing. Now, they beat the likes of the original Call of Duty, Portal, Guitar Hero, and Farmville as well. So I would say, Farmville had its moment. It was definitely, kind of a historic touchstone. Portal, I absolutely love the game. But I would say they definitely chose correctly. And Call of Duty will eventually get in. It's just a matter of time before the number one selling video game franchise of all time makes it into the Hall of Fame. Like, honestly, if 2022's inductees were Call of Duty, Portal, Guitar Hero, and Farmville, I'd be like, yep, they definitely deserve it. It's pretty crazy. So they mentioned that StarCraft is the second Blizzard game to join the Hall of Fame after World of Warcraft was in the first selection of games inducted by the museum in 2015. Anyone can nominate a game, but a panel of journalists and video game historians help the museum make their final decision. They strive to choose entrants that have enjoyed popularity over a sustained period and have exerted influence on the video game industry in general. And past inductees includes Pong, Tetris, Mortal Kombat, and Super Mario Kart. It was, these inductees were definitely very, very well chosen. So they have a good panel there. And by the way, for those who don't know about Animal Crossing, obviously Animal Crossing has hit a fevered pitch with Animal Crossing New Horizon, but the original Animal Crossing was out for the GameCube, of all things, and it was really one of the best-selling games on a relatively not that well-selling console. But it's, I would say, as a franchise altogether, the amount of Animal Crossing games is really up there. There were a lot of expansions and a lot of different ones. I think the reason that people don't realize how far back it goes because there was Animal Crossing. There's one that was released in like 2015 after like an 8-year hiatus between releasing. Like it came out in like the early 2000s, did well until like 2007, 2008, and then it went kind of underground, and then it came back with the latest 2 Animal Crossing games. So, but still, it's a very, very large game with a lot of impact on what it meant to, not simulate, not just simulation, but kind of like the RPG, but, you're at the center of the story kind of thing. It's, player choices matter. Very, very good. So there you go. Video Game Hall of Fame. Definitely enjoy that one. Okay, so our next one that we can talk about here. Okay, this is one that I should probably talk about because it's a topic that comes up every now and again, and I like to stay up and informed, so therefore all of you have to stay up and informed on this one. Teens and tech. We did a segment on that a couple of months ago, and there, some studies have found correlations, others didn't. And here's another one to throw onto the pile: teens, tech, and mental health. Oxford study, and I would say Oxford is a pretty reputable, kind of organization. Study finds no link. Now, people are going to read the headline and they're going to go, oh, well, there you go. Case closed, problem solved. It's, tech and teens. There's, everything's good. Let them do whatever they want. Not quite. Now, they say that the Oxford Internet Institute compared TV viewing, social media, and device use with feelings of depression, suicidal tendencies, and behavioral problems. It found a small drop in association between depression and social media use and TV viewing from 1991 to 2019, so almost a 30-year period. And by the way, they studied 430,000 10 to 15-year-olds. There we go. Now, with that being said, happy people, and we couldn't tell the difference between a social media impact and mental health in 2010 and 2019, and they're saying that we're not saying that fewer happy people use social media, we're saying that the connection is not getting stronger. And this was a warning to regulators and lawmakers focusing on commonly held beliefs that the harmful effects of technology on young people's mental health. Participants in the US and the UK graded their own feelings using set questions with sliding scale responses. And they were asked about the duration of the social media and device activity, but not more specifically how they spent their time, which I think makes a big impact. Do you spend time socializing with friends, playing video games, doing things that you would associate with, kind of happy and joyous events? Or do you spend the majority of your time flipping through social media, distracting yourself, not really getting any kind of joy, but rather just going through the motions? And there's a lot of ways that they could take this. But hey, these kinds of broad studies are step one into knowing if it's worth looking into further areas of research. Now, the paper is published in the journal Clinical Psychological Science. We got through it. There we go. In January 2021, a study suggested heavy social media use was linked to negative well-being and self-esteem amongst teenagers, and other factors affecting young people's mental health include the coronavirus pandemic, and the UK government has announced a $500 million investment in mental health services and earmarked for children and young people. So there are some studies that say that there is a correlation, others saying that there is no strong link, others saying that at least the link is not getting better or worse. If it wasn't proven before, it continues to be unproven. Overall, I think like most things, saying that like violence in video games is, there's a link between teen violence and, mass shootings and, shootings in schools, things like that, having a relation to video games and violent video games, things like that. No, it's been proven that the vast majority of people do not, have these kinds of ideas after playing violent video games. But violent video games could be an outlet, and those online communities could be an outlet for people who are otherwise disturbed. And cause and effect are not necessarily always linked. The correlation is not causation. So, with that being said, more studies need to happen. This goes in the no link found, or at least no strengthening link found between 2010 and 2019, because obviously I think a lot of people would agree that the social media use among 10 to 15-year-olds has increased since 2010 to 2019. But that does not mean that there's been any kind of major shift in self-reported feelings and sentiments towards social media. Now, there you go. There's that story. Pretty good stuff. Always like to keep up on that. Let's talk about Humble Bundle. And if you don't know about that, I am more than happy to introduce you to Humble Bundle, because it actually does a lot of really cool things. They partner with developers, they partner with charities, and of course they partner with the developers of the game themselves, charities that people can do, and then of course Humble Bundle themselves as an organization. The point is, if you are looking to buy video games and you're looking for a deal, honestly, the Humble Bundle is great. They bundle a lot of games together. They bundle a lot of games together. You pay a flat fee, either what you want to pay for, or, there are kind of tiers. If you pay $20, you get this, $40, you get that. And then you get to decide, or at least as of right now, you get to decide where that money goes. Does that money go to the developers? Does that money go to charity? However you're feeling, well, they'll make it happen. And Humble Bundle has ditched plans to get rid of the sliders that let customers decide how their payments for game bundles are split between charities, the company, and publishers. There was a swift backlash against the move, and Humble Bundle has turned sliders back on for everyone, saying that, quote, "We've heard everyone loud and clear and apologize for the way that these changes were rolled out. We are now taking a moment to pause, collect constructive feedback, and be more transparent with a path forward." Now, the way that they worded that, obviously that came from a lawyer. They're sorry with the way these changes were rolled out, not sorry with the changes themselves. And the changes themselves, obviously by the wording, you can assume they're going to be back. The company said last month that it would jettison sliders from bundle pages as part of a redesign. After deciding how much to pay for a bundle, customers would only be able to earmark 5 or 15% for charity, with most of the payment going to the publisher. However, Humble Bundle has backtracked on that plan, and the sliders will remain the same, at least for the time being. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I mean, being able to play a lot of video games and be able to donate the majority of the proceeds to charity, or if you feel like the game, took a lot of time, effort, and, don't get me wrong, most games take a lot of time, effort, passion, and, developers should be able to recoup some of that cost. But I always felt like that's not the point of Humble Bundle. If you want to support the majority of the company and the developers exclusively, buy it from Steam, buy it from Origin, buy it from the Windows Store, dare I say, buy it from any of the other methods that you could. But the Humble Bundle was a way to get these collections of games and get a lot of them for a good price. And hey, if you felt like it, or at least this was always my sentiment towards it, you get to donate to charity at the same time, and you get a lot of good games out of it. And being able to only earmark 5 or 15%, honestly, the messaging is so bad. The messaging is, yep, we're going to take money from dying and sick children, puppies, elephants, whatever the charity it is that you choose to support. We're going to take that money from charity and give it to the companies behind the games. Again, if you want to support the games and the developers directly and the most, again, you had the option to do that. You could make it 100% for the developers, 100% for the company. But if you want to do that, buy it anywhere else. And then the Humble Bundle was again something that people would promote for their philanthropic endeavors. Still, however, Humble Bundle has backtracked on that plan. The sliders will remain the same, at least for the time being. Now, they have plans to look into different approaches to the sliders and how the split works, along with new ways to incorporate charity into the parts of user experience. Whatever the next steps are, the company plans to be more transparent and seek feedback from the community beforehand to ensure any changes we make live up to our mission and values, and they say it will have more updates to share about sliders and charity contributions soon. Drop the Humble, just be the bundle or something like that if you want to do that kind of thing. 5 to 15%, that's great. I'm sure charities would love any kind of support that they can get, but mandating that they only get, not even the lion's share, but a fraction, in some cases a tiny fraction. I would say, 5% is not that much money when it comes to these kinds of things. It seems to deviate strongly from where Humble Bundle's mission is supposed to be. Now, is it more profitable? Yes. Does it help them grow? Absolutely. Can you twist that into thinking, well, if the company's bigger and we can generate more revenue, we can bring more money to charity overall? Yeah, you could definitely spin it that way. But it does seem to be the antithesis of what Humble Bundle is about, which is people deciding where the money goes. And yeah, there you go. I don't think this is over, and I think, again, the changes that they outlined are definitely going to come one way or another. It's just they got scared, and they backed down, as quickly as they could from these changes. So there you go. Let's talk about, we have time for one, maybe two more. How about, internal emails. This is coming out from the Epic versus Apple court case. And if you don't recall that whole thing, we'll know more as time goes, but a lot of very sensitive private emails that both companies are going to be releasing, because this lawsuit is billions upon billions of dollars on the line here. So both of them are going to dig as deep and as hard as they can. And that's why we have emails like this. Apple internal emails reveal how badly Apple wanted to keep Netflix using in-app purchases, which is obviously the crux of the entire complaint that Epic is bringing, that Apple is being anti-competitive in their own walled garden. So, internal emails revealed during the Epic Games vs. Apple lawsuit show that employees at Apple were considering giving Netflix special treatment to convince the streaming service to not abandon in-app purchases. They're saying that in the run-up to Netflix removing its subscription offering to avoid Apple fees, a presentation circulated within Apple proposing to advertise Netflix in its retail stores, use a portion of its cut of app commission to pay for search ads, and even bundle Netflix with other Apple services. Really give them the red carpet treatment. And Apple wanted to do that because here's the thing, what happened with Netflix and Apple. If you went to Netflix.com, which a lot of people did, if you went to Netflix.com and you paid for a Netflix subscription, you would pay, back then it was like $7.99 a month, $8.99 a month, whatever it may be, and Netflix would get the entirety of it. Now, if you subscribe to Netflix because there was an iOS app, or at least there still is an iOS app for Netflix, and then you subscribed through the iOS app, Netflix would suddenly get 70% of whatever subscription service you got, and Apple automatically every single month got 30% of the Netflix service. Now, we've talked about the idea behind, what is it that people actually use when, they develop for iOS using Apple's IP and, all that kind of thing. But still, Netflix famously said, forget that. Everyone knows about Netflix. if we take out the subscribe button out of our app and we just kind of say, well, if you want Netflix, go to netflix.com and subscribe to us directly, we do not even offer the option for people to subscribe through the iOS app. Well, that's what Apple was really worried about, because that's a huge source of revenue that they're going to be missing out on. Now, the emails spotted by 9to5Mac start with an explanation of a test Netflix wanted to run to study the impact of disabling in-app purchases in iOS. Their main concern, as Director of App Store Business Management Carson Oliver wrote, was over the voluntary churn of subscribers through the App Store. The exact accounts are redacted, but that seemed to suggest that Netflix subscribers from the App Store canceled the service more than subscribers who joined other ways. So there you go. I guess if you have the ability to cancel right there in the app, you were more likely to do so. Still, they mentioned that they would like to run the test in May and June and estimate the test would impact 1.9% of annual in-app signups. We expressed our concern that running this test would create a bad customer experience for app users in those markets and limit the co-marketing opportunities, including on-store featuring. Now, all of that being said, in Apple's first internal response to Netflix's plans, Oliver asked whether the company should consider punishing Netflix if it went forward with its test. There's a several-month gap between the initial thread of emails and Apple's later Netflix discussion, but the tone seems to have changed once Netflix appeared to committed to the A/B testing. Now, an email from July of 2018 showed Apple employees had created a presentation in favor of in-app purchases, including a reminder of things that Apple has done for Netflix. Apple also highlighted all the promotion did for Netflix in the editorial section of the App Store. Specifically, Apple also calls out Netflix for featuring more than any other partner and content written about the streaming service. Essentially, Apple was looking at Netflix and going, "Baby, why are you doing this to me? I've treated you so good." And Netflix went, "Well, things aren't exactly how we like them." So, they did a nice little A/B test that Apple did not appreciate. But in the same presentation, Apple considered floating even more benefits to Netflix, some of which went beyond what the company was publicly offering to other developers, though in the email it stressed that the "what we could do" section is inclusive of pie-in-the-sky ideas for completeness, and these ideas have not yet been approved. So there you have it. The presentation included email campaigns devoted to promoting just the Netflix app, carving out a portion of subscriber fees for advertising in the App Store, and possibly of bundling Netflix and Apple with other services. And this was, of course, before Apple launched Apple TV Plus, which is now a direct competitor to Netflix. And by the way, that first part, where carving out a portion of subscription fees for advertising in the App Store, that would have been, I don't want to say really underhanded, but let's say, and not really let's say, they did. Apple takes 30% of Netflix's subscription cost. Apple would then turn around and say, okay, 30% is what you're paying us. 5% of that, or 10% of what you're paying us out of the 30%, so 3% would go directly and automatically into Apple advertising in terms of promoted searches, promoted app placement, preferential treatment. That Netflix was already doing or was already likely to do. So it was a discount that Apple was never going to offer to any other app. And they were going to do that. Now, whatever the discussion between the companies did eventually happen, in-app purchases were still removed from the Netflix app, and that did not hurt Netflix at all, because obviously Netflix reached 200 million subscribers in January. And while this whole email saga is illustrative of how Apple's policy for developers seem to have exceptions, the details aren't fully explained, but Apple does bring up offering video partner program benefits, which sounds similar to the deal that that it cut with Amazon for Prime Video. the emails could serve as evidence that for lucrative and powerful partners, Apple seems to be willing to make exceptions. I'm not shocked, and anyone who is living a very comfy, cozy life to think that random developer of random app is going to have the same bargaining power that Netflix, that Epic Games, that Amazon, that these other multi-billion-dollar entities with millions of downloads and tens of millions of customers that pay through the Apple App Store. Oh my goodness, why would you give everyone, even though that's what Apple kind of says on the front, that, everyone pays the same fee, everyone pays the same cut, everyone gets the same equal treatment. No, obviously not. Apple, Amazon, Netflix are not like any other run-of-the-mill app provider. So I don't know why they would expect anything else like that to happen. But again, the emails just further highlight that as far as the media goes. Now, with that being said, yeah, there you go. The music means that we're done. Thank you so much for tuning into the program. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, be sure to catch us here next time. Tomorrow on the show, I believe, no, almost, Rothman next week. But hey, tomorrow we'll have a great show planned for you. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. We'll catch you here next time. Bye.